luxury cruise ship sailed across the Caribbean. On board, a family of 9 had gathered for a rare vacation together. But late one night during the trip, the eldest daughter, a teenage girl, was found dead in her cabin under bizarre circumstances. The scene was spotless. No signs of forced entry. No trace of an intruder. On this floating island in the middle of the sea, where had the danger come from? The Carnival Horizon is a city on water, operated by Carnival Cruise Line. The ship displaces 130,000 tons, 15 decks, over 1,000 cabins. At full capacity, nearly 4,000 passengers. Every cabin comes fully equipped. For anyone stepping aboard, it's about as close to perfect as a vacation gets. The Horizon is famous for one route, the Caribbean tour. The ship leaves Miami, stops in the Cayman Islands in Mexico, then loops back. 7 days, 6 nights, out on the open ocean. Every cabin is a private world. Once that door shuts, whatever happens inside stays inside. The people on the other side of the wall, they have no idea. On a ship like this, safety and danger are separated by a single door. In the fall of 2025, a family from Florida boarded the ship. The Kepners, a blended family of 9 grandparents, a married couple, and 5 kids. The oldest was Anna, 18, about to graduate from high school. A few years earlier, Anna's parents had divorced. Her father, Christopher, took Anna, her 4-year-old brother, and her 9-year-old sister, and remarried. The stepmother brought 2 kids of her own, a 6-year-old boy and a 9-year-old girl, with the grandparents along too. All 9 of them were on this trip. Before they left, Anna had told her biological mother all about the plans. The ship was supposed to dock back in Miami in about a week. But when that day came, Anna's mother wasn't getting any replies. Texts went unanswered. Calls to her ex-husband led nowhere. Then, while she was already starting to panic, a friend sent a strange message out of the blue. Wasn't Anna on that cruise ship? Her stomach dropped. She grabbed her phone and searched, and that's when she found it. The news was already everywhere online. Her daughter had been killed on board. Friday, November 2. The Carnival Horizon was on its way back to Miami, the second to last day of the voyage. The ship would dock the next morning. Skies were clear. Passengers were stretched out on deck, soaking in the last of their vacation. By noon, most guests were up and moving. Housekeeping had started the usual cabin cleanings. A staff member pushed open the Kepner's door. The room was empty, but something on one of the beds caught his eye. The cabin had 3 beds. One mattress looked off crooked, lumpy, with a noticeable bulge underneath, like someone had stuffed something under the bed. Curious, he stepped over to fix it. He lifted the mattress, and what he saw stopped him cold. Beneath the mattress was the body of a young girl. She was wrapped tightly in a blanket, with several life jackets piled on top. She wasn't moving. Minutes later, the cheerful music playing throughout the ship cut off mid-song. In its place came a sharp medical emergency alert. The announcement didn't say what had happened, only that paramedics needed to reach a specific cabin immediately. When the alarm went out, the Kepners were scattered around the ship. Anna's grandfather was over by the entertainment area, about to buy game cards. The moment he heard the cabin number, he froze. That was the room the 3 older kids were sharing, and his granddaughter Anna hadn't been seen all morning. A horrible feeling came over him. He forgot about the games and rushed to the cabin. In the hallway, he ran into Anna's father. The man's face was drained of color. The grandfather didn't need to ask. He already knew. Inside, paramedics were working frantically. The body under the bed was confirmed to be Anna. She had stopped breathing the night before. Her name was Anna Kepner, 18 years old, a senior at Temple Christian School, bright, outgoing, a cheerleader, always surrounded by friends, a straight-A student. She had her future mapped out: graduate high school, enlist in the Navy, become a professional military dog handler. That was the dream. This cruise had been her father's idea, a way to celebrate everything she'd accomplished and the new chapter she was about to begin. Nobody could have imagined this trip would end the way it did. From the outside, the Kepners looked like the picture of a happy family. Underneath, the dynamics were complicated. Anna had two biological brothers. The older one, Connor, was 4 years younger. There was also a baby sister, 9 years younger. When their parents divorced, the mother took the youngest brother. Anna stayed with her dad, along with Connor and the little sister. A while later, her father met another divorcee, and they remarried. The stepmother brought a son and daughter into the mix. The son, Tim, was 2 years younger than Anna. The daughter was the same age as Anna's little sister. This new family of 9 quickly split into 2 groups. The 2 youngest girls, close in age, became inseparable, and Anna, being the oldest, formed the big kids group with her stepbrother Tim and her brother Connor. As the eldest, Anna was warm and dependable. She always looked out for her younger siblings. Her social media was full of videos of her dancing and goofing around with the 2 boys. In every clip, Tim and Connor seemed sweet, happy to play along with their big sister. The Kepners lived in Titusville, Florida, about a 3-hour drive from the port of Miami, along with the parents and 5 kids. Anna's grandparents had come on the trip too. For the older couple, seeing all those grandkids together was supposed to be one of the happiest moments of their later years, because the older kids always played together. And because Anna was such a responsible big sister, the parents felt fine with the cabin arrangement. They put one 8-year-old Anna in one room with one 6-year-old Tim and one 4-year-old Connor. To them, the 3 were old enough. Staying together meant they could look out for each other, and the adults could have some privacy. The 2 younger girls still needed supervision, so the couple stayed with them in the cabin directly across. The grandparents preferred peace and quiet. Their room was 2 decks away. There was an empty bed there too. In case the older kids didn't get along, anyone could move over any time. But over the past few days, no one had needed to. November 2. Liancianling Arshawu. The family left Florida and boarded at the port of Miami. The first few days were perfect. They took beach photos, gathered close as a family. Anna's grandparents adored their oldest granddaughter. There were plenty of warm moments captured on camera. In every photo and video the family shared, Anna was the center of attention, sunbathing on deck with her younger siblings, joining the ship's parties, sitting down with everyone for a big seafood dinner. The only minor issue, Anna had recently gotten braces. Whether she was out in the sea breeze or eating, her teeth would ache. But it didn't ruin her mood. On camera, she was still that energetic young woman. November 2 days left in the trip. At dinner, the whole family had a few drinks together. The mood was lively. During the meal, Anna quietly told her grandmother her braces were bothering her. She wanted to head to bed early, but not wanting to ruin the night. She got dressed up after dinner and went with the adults to the casino. The casino was loud and packed. Anna hung out with the family for a bit, but she looked tired. Before 8:30, she said goodnight and went back to the cabin alone. The next morning, Anna didn't show up at breakfast. Both her brothers said they hadn't seen her after waking up. The family figured she'd gone up to the deck to catch the sunrise. That's when housekeeping pushed open the door and found her. The ship canceled all entertainment and headed back to Miami at full speed. Both younger brothers broke down. They said they had gone straight to sleep when they got back the night before, and hadn't even noticed if Anna was in the cabin. The older one, the stepbrother, took it especially hard. His mental state was so unstable that he was rushed to the hospital for psychiatric care the moment they docked. Meanwhile, back home, Anna's biological mother still had no idea. It wasn't until the news exploded online that she found out. Even her younger son, the one living with her, only learned his sister was gone when classmates told him at school. After the ship docked, the FBI sealed the scene and launched a full investigation. On board, passengers were trading theories. At first, many assumed it was an accident. Anna had mentioned her braces hurting. The family had been drinking that night. People speculated she'd gone back to the room, taken painkillers, and the mix of alcohol and medication had killed her. As for why she ended up under the bed, the theory was that whoever found her had panicked and staged the scene to look like a disappearance. The medical examiner's report shut all of that down. No alcohol in her system, no drugs, which lined up with what the family said she'd barely had anything to drink that night. More importantly, the report was clear Anna's death wasn't natural. There were obvious compression marks on her neck, signs of a violent struggle before she died. This wasn't an accident. This was a homicide. The last time anyone had seen Anna was the night before, when she said goodnight at the casino. After that, no family member, no passenger, no one in any public area had seen her again. Her keycard records showed she hadn't swiped out of the cabin, which meant the room where she was found was almost certainly the original crime scene. On the surface, the Kepners got along fine, no obvious conflicts, and every cabin had electronic locks. It was nearly impossible for an outsider to get in, so suspicion turned to the people who did have access to the crew staff. A ship like this employs thousands. Plenty of them are cabin attendants with master keys. Anna had been visible all over the deck and at parties in the days leading up to her death. Early in the investigation, police considered whether someone with bad intentions might have been watching her. The concern wasn't unfounded. Back in 2014, a crew staff member had used his job access to sneak into a passenger's cabin at night and assault a female guest. People in those positions know the cabin layouts and surveillance blind spots inside out. But crew security has come a long way. Every door swipe leaves an electronic record. Police pulled the logs for Anna's cabin. On the night in question, 3 keycards had been used: Anna's, Tim's, and Connor's. No 4th card. At minimum, this gutted the theory that a staff member had used a master key. But it still didn't explain what had happened inside the room. While the investigation was unfolding, the internet was already exploding. And the first person people turned on wasn't a stranger, it was Anna's biological father, Christopher. The suspicion didn't come out of nowhere. Anna's biological mother had publicly accused her ex-husband on social media, calling his behavior deeply abnormal. She said when she first saw the news of her daughter's death, she had frantically tried to reach him, but Christopher had been ice cold, silent, refusing to share any information. As far as she was concerned, he was hiding something. Online theories piled up. Some pointed out Christopher had both motive and opportunity to access Anna's keycard. And given what Anna had been through, overpowering her in a confined space would have taken serious upper body strength. Compared to 2 teenage boys, a grown man in his prime fit the profile. Conspiracy theories spread fast. People started speculating about the blended family, financial disputes, deeper conflicts. But the keycard log showed Anna's father had gone straight back to his own cabin after the casino that night. For the time being, he was ruled out, just as the investigation seemed to stall. An even more shocking piece of content went viral. A clip of surveillance footage. Source unknown. Grainy. The background looked like a long hallway on a cruise ship. In the video, a woman was grabbed from behind and dragged into a blind spot. She struggled. It didn't matter. Even though the footage was blurry, the person who posted it claimed with total certainty that the woman was Anna. Outrage was instant, but the authorities quickly clarified the video had nothing to do with the case. The truth was buried in the keycard logs from Anna's cabin. After Anna had returned to the room, the door had been opened multiple times. Aside from Connor going in once, every other swipe pointed to the same card, the one belonging to 6-year-old Tim. Based on the keycard data and surveillance footage, police reconstructed a clear timeline. Between 6 and 8 p.m. on the night of the incident, the family was at dinner, then the casino. At some point in between, Anna went back to the cabin alone to rest. At Uptreezech, Tim swiped in for the first time. Connor was already in the room. He was young, had played for a while, run out of energy, brushed his teeth, and gone to bed. But strangely, Tim swiped out a while later, around 9:30. He swiped in again and almost immediately left. At 10:30. He swiped in for the 3rd time, and he never came out. The medical examiner's window for time of death, right between 8:30 and 10:30. Now there was one big question. During that window, only 3 kids were in the room. So who did it? When it came to physical capability, police thought Tim was the obvious suspect. Anna wasn't just a cheerleader, she was preparing to enlist in the Navy. She was strong. Overpowering her in a cabin wouldn't have been easy. Connor, 4 years younger, almost certainly couldn't have done it. Tim, on the other hand, was taller and more built. Then there were the keycards. During that window, Connor stayed in the room. The one going in and out repeatedly was Tim. His behavior was strange, almost panicked, like he was running back and forth to escape something or check on it. The most critical testimony came from Connor. After counseling, he remembered that, half asleep, he had heard Tim and his sister get into a heated argument. Then a heavy thud. He vaguely remembered Tim telling her to shut up. Soon after, the cabin door opened, but the lights were off. Connor assumed it was Anna leaving the room after the fight, because after that, the room went quiet. Connor had no way of knowing that after that door closed, Anna had never left. His sister was hidden under the bed, and in that small cabin, the victim, the suspect, and the witness all spent the night sleeping in the same room until dawn. As the picture of what happened got clearer, public anger turned toward the parents. Anna's grandparents were heartbroken, but Anna's father and stepmother seemed to have reached some silent agreement. They refused to speak. Anna's biological mother couldn't take it anymore. In a media interview, she demanded to know why anyone would put in one 8-year-old girl in the same cabin as 2 teenage boys. To her, that whole "they're like siblings" line was just a story the parents told themselves, and that kind of negligence was exactly what had set the stage for the tragedy. She publicly accused her ex-husband Christopher of being selfish. She said it was his arrangement that had pushed her daughter to the edge. 2 weeks after Anna's death, her funeral was held in her hometown. Her father, Christopher, led the ceremony. He specifically asked attendees not to wear black, but bright colors instead, to honor Anna's bright, beautiful spirit. Someone even sent a car decorated with balloons shaped like colorful butterflies. The balloons swayed in the sunlight, but behind that warm farewell, the family infighting was just getting started. In the middle of all that grief, Anna's biological mother was barred from the funeral. Her ex-husband refused to let her in. Christopher even threatened legal action. He said he'd report her to police for unpaid child support and have her arrested. He was determined to stop her from seeing her daughter one last time. Despite years of estrangement, the mother eventually managed to slip into the service. After that, she became a constant presence on social media, tracking every development in the case, vowing to get justice for her daughter. Meanwhile, the prime suspect, 6-year-old Tim, quietly disappeared from public view. Because he was a minor, his identity was protected by law. None of the investigation findings were released publicly. After a period of psychiatric observation and treatment, Tim was secretly taken away by his biological father. What had actually happened that night? It looked like the case might quietly fade into silence. Until one day, a man calling himself Martin Donoho posted on social media and dropped a bombshell. He claimed to be Anna's uncle. His tone was urgent. He begged people to share his post to get justice for Anna. In the post, he pointed the finger directly at 6-year-old Tim, and he revealed even more disturbing details. The next day, when the family realized Anna was missing, Tim had already told his mother the truth, which meant Anna's stepmother, and possibly even her biological father, may have known all along. They chose to stay silent. According to the uncle, the stepmother had even threatened the rest of the family if they breathed a word. They'd be banned from Anna's funeral. At the end of the post, the uncle pleaded again, "Please share this. Help us. Make sure the people who did this, who lied, who hid the truth from the rest of the family, face the consequences they deserve." These details had never been disclosed by authorities. As all these fragments piled up online, people started to realize Anna's real family life might not have been the picture-perfect image she showed on social media. This 8-year-old girl might have been quietly facing something terrifying for a long time. And as more people came forward, a twisted family truth started surfacing, especially the relationship between Anna and her stepbrother Tim, that drew major public attention. Of all the people who came forward, Anna's ex-boyfriend Joshua, too, gave the most critical testimony. He had been one of the people Anna trusted most. He was originally supposed to come on this cruise too. They had broken up a few months earlier. But in his mind, Anna was still that pure, kind girl. According to Tim had a near-obsessive need to control his older sister. No sense of boundaries. In one media interview, described a deeply unsettling scene. One time, around 3 a.m., he was on a video call with Anna. While Anna was talking, Tim suddenly emerged from the dark, like a ghost silently, and tried to climb into her bed. What disturbed too, even more, Tim always carried a folding knife in his backpack. Dotef. It seemed like Anna was living in constant fear. She just had a hard time saying it out loud. Several of Anna's close friends came forward too. To them, Anna was the kind of girl who was sweet, easygoing, the last person who'd ever ask for anything. But strangely, she was always making excuses to crash at their places. At a friend's house, even sleeping on the couch, she seemed satisfied. At the time, no one thought much of it. It wasn't until the tragedy happened that her friends realized maybe there was someone in Anna's home she really didn't want to face. If Anna was that afraid of Tim, and if Tim had a history of dangerous behavior, there was no way the adults didn't know. Which led to one sharp, painful question. Why, on this cruise, had her father put them in the same cabin, according to Carnival Cruise Line policy? For safety reasons. Any cabin booked for minors had to have an adult registered alongside them. By that rule, Anna, Tim, and Connor weren't supposed to have a room of their own. Some online suggested the original cabin assignment had been different. To let the couple stay together, the family may have privately swapped key cards after boarding, meaning the original arrangement might have been each parent with their own kids, or the father with the boys, the mother with the girls, the grandparents alone, like they were now. Under that plan, Anna would never have been alone with Tim that night. If the theory is true, it means the adults, for their own convenience, assigned responsible Anna to look after the two boys. And that decision cost her her life. As the investigation went deeper, the truth of that night came into focus. February 2026. 3 months after the case, authorities formally announced that 6-year-old Tim had been charged with murder. He was arraigned at the federal district court in Miami. Because the defendant was a minor, the details of the charges weren't made public. In court documents, he was referred to only as T.H. The courthouse was surrounded by furious crowds and media, but for the same reason, the press wasn't allowed inside, since the official details weren't released. People pieced together what they thought was closest to the truth. On the night of the incident, at the family dinner, Anna and Tim had both been drinking. After they got back to the cabin, they got into a heated argument. Tim, who had carried twisted feelings toward his sister for a long time, was triggered by alcohol in the closed space. His emotions snapped into rage. He completely lost control. And the result was tragedy. After realizing Anna had stopped breathing, Tim didn't call for help. And the family, once they learned the truth, didn't tell anyone either. Out of complicated emotions, sources say Tim is no longer staying with the Kepners. He's with his biological father who, with his power and resources, is supporting the legal defense. The irony. This father doesn't believe Tim did anything wrong. Instead, he's blaming his ex-wife Tim's mother. He says it was her poor parenting, her allowing a minor to drink at that dinner, that caused Tim to lose control. He's even filed a court request to take his ex-wife's young daughter back into his own custody. He claims he's worried Anna's father might take the tragedy out on her. The case is still being heard. Because of its sensitive nature, the public can only piece things together from what's available and from what insiders have leaked. As for Tim's actual psychological motive that night, and the final ruling, those will have to wait for whatever the official, redacted case report eventually reveals. In follow-up coverage, Anna's grandparents gave an interview. The two of them still couldn't believe the truth. To them, the two kids had been close. They'd never even seen them argue. The clean image the family presented stood in stark contrast to what Anna's friends were saying. What the older relatives saw was a comfortable illusion. What her peers felt was real, lived in fear. It made the case heavier, more complicated. Anna's life is frozen forever at 18. The freedom she once dreamed of became a place she would never reach.